Recap. Alchemy Emperor of the Divine Dao, Chapter 935. Chapter. Listen closely, for this tale unfolds like thunder rolling across a battlefield, where pride, fury, and overwhelming power collide beneath the gaze of heaven itself. On that day, the disciples of the Western institution surged forward like a restless tide. Their robes fluttered, their eyes burned with indignation, and their footsteps struck the earth with reckless resolve. One after another, they charged without hesitation, casting aside fear as though it were nothing more than dust beneath their feet. Why should they fear? This was no life and death duel. No matter how ruthless Ling Han might appear, he could not take their lives, nor cripple them within the sacred grounds of the academy. That unspoken protection dulled their caution and instead ignited a dangerous courage within their hearts. Blood rushed through their veins. Their pride roared louder than reason. To them, Ling Han was nothing more than an arrogant outsider, a man who dared to trample the dignity of the Western institution, and so they rushed him. But what is a tide before a mountain? What is a flock before a lion? They had not realized. They were not even lambs in his eyes. Ling Han stood unmoved, his expression calm, almost indifferent. Then, with a casual motion, as though brushing aside drifting leaves, he threw out a single punch. In that instant, peng! Bodies scattered like petals caught in a violent gale. More than a dozen disciples were sent flying through the air, their formations shattered in a heartbeat. The force behind that one strike carried no strain, no effort, as if it had been done without thought. A silence fell. Then voices rose in desperation. "Senior Brother Jia, it's all up to you now." All eyes turned toward a thin young man standing among them. His frame was frail, almost skeletal, like a stalk of dried bamboo swaying in the wind. Skin clung tightly to bone, giving him the appearance of someone who had never known strength. Yet that man nodded. He drew in a deep breath. And then, pang! Something within him awakened. His left shoulder and arm suddenly swelled, as though filled with an invisible force. Then his right arm followed. His torso expanded, his legs thickened, his entire body transforming piece by piece, until only his head remained unchanged. Before their eyes, that fragile youth had become a towering giant nearly 9 meters tall. Muscles bulged like forged steel, glistening under the light as if coated in oil. Every inch of him radiated explosive strength. The crowd erupted in excitement. Senior Brother has cultivated an incomplete heaven-swallowing technique. His normal battle prowess is only 18 stars, but once he explodes his strength, it can reach 21 stars, or even beyond. His talent was never inferior to Ye Chengyun's. If he goes all out, he might even surpass him. 22 stars. Hope surged through them like wildfire. At last, they believed salvation had arrived. Then, peng! 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 Senior Brother Jia charged forward. Each step he took was like thunder striking the earth. The ground trembled violently beneath his weight, cracking faintly as if unable to endure his might. The very air quivered with the force of his advance. Seeing this, the surrounding disciples scattered in haste. Even the shockwaves from his movement were enough to injure them. And then, Hong, Hong, his massive fist shot forward, aimed directly at Ling Han's head. Compared to this towering figure, Ling Han appeared no more than a child, small, insignificant, utterly vulnerable. "Thrash him to death!" the crowd roared. Ling Han's gaze sharpened slightly. He could feel it. The power within this giant had indeed surpassed Ye Chengyun's. But he also saw the truth behind it. This was not natural strength. It was a forced eruption, drawn out by a secret technique that burned fiercely. But briefly, a flame that would soon extinguish itself. And yet, for that fleeting moment, it was terrifying. Still, to Ling Han, it was not enough. He raised his hand, lightly, pa. The colossal fist halted just above his head. It could not descend another inch. Because of the vast difference in their sizes, that enormous hand obscured the view. To the onlookers, it seemed as though Ling Han had been struck directly. Cheers erupted once more, echoing across the battlefield, but the cheers quickly faltered. Ling Han still stood there, unmoved, unharmed. A chill crept into their hearts. What kind of monster was this? Then, before anyone could react, Ling Han lifted his arm. And the impossible happened. The 9-meter-tall giant was raised high into the air, like an ant lifting a lion. The scene was so absurd, so unnatural, that it shattered all logic. "Go," Ling Han said calmly. With a flick of his hand, Shu, Senior Brother Jia, was sent flying. sent flying. His massive body crashed violently into a distant wall. Bang! The impact echoed like a drum of war. And then, pooh! A thunderous, almost comical sound burst forth as Senior Brother Gia let out an explosive fart, launching his body upward briefly into the air. But as quickly as his strength had surged, it now faded. His enormous form shrank rapidly, returning him to his original frail size. His battle prowess dropped back to 18 stars. Even he had been defeated. At last, fear truly settled into the hearts of the Western Institution disciples. They were not facing an ordinary genius. They were facing something beyond reason. Numbers meant nothing before such overwhelming power. Ling Han smiled faintly. "Well?" he asked. "Still want to fight?" They looked around. More than half of their companions lay scattered across the ground, groaning or unconscious. And yet Ling Han stood there as though he had barely begun to warm up. Calm, composed, untouched. They shook their heads in unison. No one dared step forward again. In their hearts, a silent decision formed. They would wait. Wait until Ling Han advanced into the mountain river tier. Then their senior brothers and sisters would deal with him. Only then could they reclaim their dignity. Ling Han shrugged lightly. "If no one wants to fight, I'm going back to sleep. No apologies. No further words." He had already beaten them thoroughly. Anything more would only deepen the humiliation. With his hands clasped behind his back, he walked away, leaving behind a sea of smoldering resentment. The disciples could only glare at his retreating figure, their eyes burning with fury. Yet Ling Han himself was not pleased. Yes, he had displayed his might, but he had been forced into it. Zhao Lun, he thought silently. It seems our feud is now set in stone. Could he oppose Zhao Lun now? Never. Not even close. Even Zhao Lun's 3 great followers, and the subordinates beneath them, were already far beyond his reach. The gap between the mountain river tier and the shattering void tier was like heaven and earth. I must break through, Ling Han resolved inwardly. Once I reach the mountain river tier with my potential, becoming a 5-star genius will not be difficult. Then, even at the lower levels, I can contend with those in the mid-level stages. At the very least, I won't be so passive. His thoughts darkened slightly. Zhao Lun covets senior sister Shui. That will be his weakness. A faint smirk appeared on his lips. Then I'll act close to her, right in front of him. If he wants to provoke me, I'll return it tenfold. I am not someone who lets grudges go unanswered. The next day arrived swiftly. The Northern Institution buzzed with activity as the monthly assessment began. This test was not merely routine. It was a measure of progress, a reflection of discipline. Some entered the academy with iron determination, only to grow complacent once they secured their place. And the path of martial arts was never one of ease. If one's strength declined, the first time would earn a warning, the second would strip away privileges, and the third would result in expulsion. Over 500 new students gathered. Shu Yanyu stood before them, her gaze sweeping across every face. "Today is the monthly assessment," she announced. "Give it your all. If your performance is worse than when you entered, you will receive a warning. 3 warnings, and you will be expelled." "Yes," the students responded solemnly. Ling Han raised his hand lazily and stood up. "Senior sister," he asked, "is there any reward for first place?" Shu Yanyu shook her head. "No. No reward?" Ling Han immediately lost interest. With a sigh, he slumped onto the table and closed his eyes, drifting into sleep as if nothing mattered. Shu Yanyu's brows twitched in irritation. This man, his strength was clearly extraordinary, yet he lacked the slightest ambition. Where was his drive, his sense of responsibility? If not for the fact that he was her husband in name, she wouldn't even bother caring. "Begin," she declared coldly. The assessment, in truth, was simple. Combat. What else could test strength more directly? But no one stepped forward to challenge Ling Han. Not a single one. They had already reached a silent agreement. He was first. After all, just yesterday, he had single-handedly crushed the entire Western institution. If anyone here claimed to be stronger than him, then they would have to step forward the next time the Western institution came seeking trouble, and that would be nothing short of courting disaster. Thus, without lifting a finger, without fighting a single battle, Ling Han claimed first place in the monthly assessment. The examination had only just concluded when Ling Han, with a calm and unhurried stride, made his way toward Shui Yanyu. His movements appeared casual, Yet every step was deliberate, like a seasoned swordsman approaching a duel, concealing intent beneath still waters. Drawing close, he began to speak, his tone light, yet every word carried the weight of profound comprehension. Ling Han's knowledge of cultivation was vast, like an endless sea. With only a few carefully chosen sentences, he unraveled intricate principles, each phrase like a spark striking flint. Before long, Shui Yanyu's attention was completely captured. Her eyes, once distant and composed, now gleamed with curiosity. Unknowingly, she stepped closer. The distance between them quietly dissolved. It was subtle, so subtle that even she did not notice. Perhaps deep within her heart, she had already granted Ling Han a measure of trust, a silent permission that allowed him to cross boundaries others dared not approach. Ling Han, observing this, could not help but chuckle inwardly. There must be spies of Zhao Lun hidden among these watchers, he mused. Since that's the case, then watch carefully. Watch everything, then run back and report what you've seen. A faint glimmer of cunning flickered through his thoughts. Within the Western institution, a storm was brewing. Several young men stood with hands clasped behind their backs, their figures steady as towering peaks. Behind them, faint images of mountains and rivers shimmered into existence, as if the very heavens and earth obeyed their will. They were cultivators of the mountain river tier. Below them stood a group of shattering void tier disciples, faces flushed, heads lowered, their expressions filled with shame and unease. The air grew heavy. Just one man, one of the senior disciples said coldly, his voice like frost biting into bone. A single person dared to charge into your ranks, and none of you could stop him? Another stepped forward, his tone even harsher. Not only did you fail to stop him, you allowed him to injure so many of your fellow disciples? His gaze swept across them like a blade. You are nothing but useless trash. The words struck like thunder. These mountain river tier disciples, all from the lower level section, had come personally after hearing of the chaos Ling Han had caused. Yet what they found only deepened their contempt. To them, the shattering void tier was insignificant. No matter how brilliant a genius might be, he should never be able to cause such humiliation. And yet, it had happened. Could it be that this Ling Han possesses some kind of monstrous inhuman power? One of them muttered. But disbelief lingered in their hearts. They simply could not accept it. Senior Brother Liu, one of the witnesses, stepped forward urgently. That Ling Han is truly terrifying. A few days ago, when he fought Luo Ba, he killed him in a single move. The leader among the Mountain River Tier disciples, Liu Heng, stood silently, his expression indifferent. He was at the peak of the lower levels of the Mountain River Tier, a one-star genius, the strongest among them. At the mention of Luo Ba, he let out a cold scoff. Luo Ba, one of the so-called three elites of the imperial capital? His lips curled with disdain. His battle prowess is no more than 18 or 19 stars. In reply to Senior Brother Liu, another disciple said carefully, Luo Ba had refined a blood tier stone. His strength had already reached 21 stars. He even exchanged 3 moves with Ye Chengyun and ended in a draw. This time, Liu Heng's expression changed. Not just him. Everyone present felt a ripple of shock. Even they had yet to reach such a level. And yesterday, another disciple added, voice trembling, Senior Brother Jia fought him with everything he had, yet was still defeated in a single move. Silence fell. Liu Heng's brows slowly furrowed, his tone turning grave. If that is the case, then this person's battle prowess must have reached 23 stars. A murmur spread. That is not impossible, one of the Mountain River Tier disciples said. From what I've heard, that man ascended from a small world. Moreover, he opened the heavens himself. Liu Heng frowned slightly. Opened the heavens? Such matters from small worlds rarely concerned him. It is said, the disciple continued, lowering his voice, that those who open the heavens are rewarded by heaven and earth itself. Rewarded by heaven and earth? Liu Heng repeated, his interest finally stirred. They receive an infusion of power enough to make up for the final 3 stars of strength. At those words, realization struck. Liu Heng's eyes flickered. To open the heavens requires at least 20 stars of battle prowess. Add 3 more stars from the reward. He exhaled slowly. That would indeed place him at 23 stars. Such a figure, there was no equal among the shattering void tier. Right, Liu Heng suddenly clapped his hands, a sinister smile forming. The competition between the three empires is about to begin. The others looked at him in confusion. And with it, he continued, the Heavenly Sea Mystery Realm will open. Senior Brother Liu, what are you implying? A cold gleam flashed in his eyes. Hey, if that man enters the Heavenly Sea Mystery Realm, his voice turned chilling, then whether he lives or dies will be entirely up to us. Laughter followed. If he even qualifies to enter, we'll make sure he learns his place. At the roaring waterfall, mist coiled like drifting spirits. Zhao Lun stood with his hands behind his back, his expression dark as storm clouds. Even the entire Western institution could not stop him. He asked slowly, disbelief laced with irritation. Behind him, Bai Yuanxi bowed respectfully. In reply to young master, that man's battle prowess is suspected to have reached 23 stars. Without the power of the nation behind them, it is unlikely that anyone in the Shattering Void tier could defeat him. The words struck Zhao Lun like a silent blow. Back when he had been in the same realm, his battle prowess had only reached 20 stars. And now, someone had surpassed him by 3 full stars. His expression darkened further. With such strength, Bai Yuanxi continued, he will surely lead our empire to victory in the upcoming competition. Her Imperial Majesty rewards merit fairly. It is highly likely he will be granted entry into the Heavenly Sea Mystery Realm. Heavenly Sea Mystery Realm, Zhao Lun murmured. A sharp light flashed in his eyes. It was there, within that mysterious realm, that he had once risen, gaining the fortune that transformed him into a 4-star genius. That place had changed his destiny. If he enters, Zhao Lun said coldly, his voice devoid of warmth, then make sure he never comes out again. Though he understood Shui Yanyu's temperament well, the rumors swirling around her and Ling Han stirred a deep displeasure within him. Yes! Bai Yuanxi immediately dropped to one knee in acknowledgement. Time flowed like a quiet river. Ling Han remained low profile, staying within the academy walls. The assassins of Dark Knight Hall found no opportunity to strike. Even Zhao Lun seemed to have withdrawn into silence. Day after day passed, and the great competition between the three empires drew ever closer until finally, that day arrived. Ling Han was summoned by the left minister. The competition begins tomorrow, the left minister said calmly. You will stay at my residence tonight. Tomorrow we enter the Imperial Palace together. The competition was held once every 10 years, its location rotating among the three empires. This year, it was their turn. Otherwise, they would have already been traveling for half a month. The left minister suddenly looked at Ling Han, his gaze meaningful. If you perform well this time, you will likely obtain the opportunity to enter the Heavenly Sea Mystery Realm. Ling Han blinked, slightly taken aback. My lord, what is the Heavenly Sea Mystery Realm? Before the left minister could respond, Xiang Chengyun snapped harshly. How dare you, in front of the left minister, are you even qualified to ask such questions? But the left minister merely waved his hand with a faint smile. No matter. He seemed unusually willing to explain. The Heavenly Sea Mystery Realm opens once every 10 years, he began slowly. Within it exists a special type of stone, one that can assist Shattering Void tier cultivators in forming mountains and rivers. Ling Han listened intently. It can greatly shorten the time required to break through and significantly increase the chances of success. We call it the Mountain River Stone. His voice grew deeper. It is unique to that realm. Why it exists there and nowhere else, no one knows. He paused briefly, then continued. Some Mountain River Stones possess even more extraordinary effects. For example, the Heavy Origin Stone. It allows the mountains and rivers you form to carry immense weight. When unleashed in battle, your opponent will be crushed beneath its pressure. And the Flame Stone, imbuing your mountains and rivers with blazing fire, nothing can withstand it. Everything will melt away. The words painted a vivid picture. However, the left minister added, the Heavenly Sea Mystery Realm restricts entry. Only those at the lower levels of the Mountain River tier may enter. That is why many cultivators deliberately suppress their cultivation, just to enter multiple times. He fell silent for a moment, a trace of nostalgia appearing on his face. When I was young, I lacked the necessary background. I never had the chance to enter. A faint sigh escaped him. Otherwise, had I obtained such secret powers of the Mountain River tier, perhaps my battle prowess would have reached the level of a 5-star genius. Ling Han stood quietly, his heart stirred. If even a figure like the left minister spoke of it with such longing, then this heavenly sea mystery realm was undoubtedly a land of immeasurable fortune, a place he must go.